How does multifamily contribute to a community? Multifamily contributes to a community because it increases the trade area that's reviewed for retail development. And we need those rooftops to drive retail, because those rooftops that drive retail reduce residential taxes by putting more of the tax burden on commercial development. With respect to traffic on Turberville Road, both improvements and maintenance, we all recognize that Park Ridge needs to be improved, and Corinth and the county are collaborating to get that improved. We are all concerned of the impacts on Turberville Road as a result of those improvements. This council has passed a resolution at a meeting that I attended that went to Denton County asking for Denton County's support regarding improvements of Turberville Road. In addition to that, this council, using their good stewardship, has negotiated in this ETJ development agreement a burden on the district to fund improvements and maintenance of Turberville Road consistent with the impact of the development. With respect to police, fire, and EMS, those types of services will not be a burden of this community, but a burden of the district. The city council, the town council has negotiated a right of first refusal, so to the extent this town wants to negotiate with the district and be paid to provide those services, that opportunity is there. With respect to location of uses, I would remind you, south of Turberville Road, the property is zoned 9,000 square foot units. The property north of Turberville Road, no zoning, could do anything we want today. The agreement, if approved tonight, would restrict the uses. Of that 140 acres, no more than 40 acres and no more than 900 units would be multifamily. A minimum of 10 acres and a maximum of 20 acres would be commercial. The expectation is that the commercial would be developed along the frontage of 2181, and the density would move back to lower density uses as it approached Turberville Road. With respect to environmental impacts and land studies, all of those things will be done in the natural course of development. This is the first stage of a multi-stage process. Development in the ETJ, though it is not subject to land use control, is subject to subdivision regulation control. So every time a plat is approved, this community, both the P&Z and council, will review that plat. And if it satisfies the subdivision regulations and provides for the needed infrastructure, then development would proceed consistent with building codes. With respect to impact on the property and taxes, I think we've covered that. Why was there no P&Z involvement? There was no P&Z involvement in this case because it's not a zoning case. P&Z's authority is limited to reviewing zoning cases and land uses related to zoning and subdivision. Because we're not in the subdivision process, we're not before P&Z. 212-172 of the local government code says these types of agreements do not require public hearings and do not get reviewed by planning and zoning. Why no transparency? I would submit to you that this process has been very transparent. This is the 4th time I've stood at this microphone before this community. All of those meetings have been posted on the website. All the minutes after those meetings are also posted. Population increases, I believe your council addressed that with respect to the property in the corporate limits south of Turberville. They would count towards your population. The property north of Turberville, because it's in the ETJ and not the corporate limits, doesn't count towards your town population, though it does count towards your retail trade area. With respect to comments related to multifamily and crime, I can tell you that I've been married for 19 years, and the first 7 years of my marriage I spent in an apartment. I can tell you that my Aunt Rosie, after her husband of 60 years died, now at the age of 80, lives in an apartment. I would submit to you that living in an apartment doesn't make you a bad person, and depending on where you are in your life, it might be an appropriate choice. I can also tell you that with respect to market demand, there is a demand for apartments particularly for young families who can no longer qualify for financing of homes given the change in our capital markets over the last several years. With respect to the comments regarding the bailout of the investment, the opportunity to sell this property is a two-pronged opportunity. Clearly, there are beautiful homes on this property, and they might be appropriate for a specialty user. That opportunity is being pursued, and if I don't do a good job and I don't convince this community that this agreement is a good thing for the community, then perhaps a developer won't come and the property will be sold to a specialty user. I expect that the property has the better and higher use if sold to a developer. And that is why I was retained to help with the entitlements in order to position the property to be marketed to a developer. With respect to the legal challenge for a municipal attorney, I'd like to learn more about that. We are not giving up ETJ. This property is in Hickory Creek's ETJ, and regardless of whether this agreement is executed and regardless of whether there's a district on it, the property will remain in Hickory Creek's ETJ unless this council elects to release it, in which case it would, by operation of law, Chapter 42 of the Local Government Code, go to Corinth. But as long as this community wants this property in the ETJ, it will remain in the ETJ. With respect to plan changes and building codes, because of this community subdivision regulation control, all of those would come back through the process. Who is the developer? We don't know yet. We don't know if the property will be bought by a specialty user or a developer. This process is intended to position the property for development. Why not consistent with the comp plan? Because it's in the ETJ. With respect to drainage, everyone recognizes this is a lake community. Drainage is important. The Texas Commission on Environmental Quality will hold every property owner to drainage regulations. It's controlled at the state level. In addition, your subdivision regulations require drainage to be satisfied. Last but not least, the Park Ridge Road improvements will help with the drainage of this property. And a fallback position, 11086 of the Water Code, is a strict liability statute that says if you damage someone resulting from drainage, you're strictly liable for it. So all drainage issues will be addressed. All right, I'm halfway done. Got 2 down. It's a 15-year permanent agreement not to annex the property. The property is not subject to annexation north of Tuberville Road now because the community is a general law city without the authority to involuntarily annex. This agreement is for 15 years with an optional 5-year renewal. The agreement put by state law recently passed effective September 1st be as long as 45 years. The council has negotiated a shorter term. Once the agreement expires, it could be renewed at the then council's option. An agreement that no future council can ever undo, yes, it is a binding contract. Allow special taxing district to be formed, taxed and controlled by a select few. Yes, taxing districts are controlled by the residents that live in them. No property taxes paid to the town of Hickory Creek forever. Not quite true. The property taxes for the in-city piece south of Tuberville Road are already being paid, and as development occurs will continue to be paid. Property taxes north of Tuberville Road will not be in the corporate limits, therefore not taxed by the city until there is enough tax base out there that it warrants annexation, in which case the district would be dissolved and it would be annexed. So will the district be out there a long time? Yes. Will it be out there forever? No. Large development estimated 10 years, no planning and zoning, we've talked about that. One more list here. No additional land can be annexed by the district without town approval. That is a matter of state law. Chapter 42 of the Local Government Code and Chapter 54 of the Water Code dictate that you have to get town approval before any additional land is annexed into the district. None of the land can be annexed into another city. That is correct. It is in Hickory Creek's ETJ and will remain in Hickory Creek's ETJ at the pleasure of the council. Some concern about what would happen if the developer defaulted. and that's addressed in the agreement. On creation of the district, the district has assumed the obligations under the agreement. Yes, the district will assume the obligations under the agreement. No annexation of additional land in the district without town consent. That's true as a matter of state law.
I think those are mine. I think that's.
Okay, we got those. All right, I think I've answered everything I wrote down. If there's another list that I missed, or if you want to speak with me individually after the council member, I am available. I do a lot of this work. I am a district development lawyer. I believe this is a good development model. I believe it provides a win-win for communities and for property owners and developers. And I'm happy to discuss the details of that with anyone who wants to visit that.
Misty, they were incredibly comprehensive list here. There had 34 questions. You hit all 5 of them.
Okay.
So just real quick, somebody asked the question, when was it rezoned? Why was there no newsletter coverage? I'll let the mayor handle that one. What's the rush? What building code will be used? And how do we know the developer will abide?
Okay. With respect, let me take them in reverse order. How do we know that the developer will abide by the agreement? By state law, this type of agreement is a covenant that runs with the land. If this council chooses to approve it, it will be executed by the property owner and this council, and will be deed recorded in the Denton County Real Property Records, and it will run with the land. So by law, it will bind future owners with respect to this agreement. With respect to, remind me of the next one.
What building code will be used?
What building codes will apply to the property. I would expect most developers are going to abide by the then current building code, because that's just good business sense. And I believe if you're developing single-family detached residential, there are state law requirements that require you to do that.
What's the rush?
What's the rush? The rush is, I really think it's a good idea for a developer to buy this, and if Mr. Goldfield sells this to a specialty user, I have missed that opportunity. And I have lots of clients that I believe would be eager to come to this community if we had the right entitlements in place. So the rush is driven by the market demand.
So do you feel like it has been rushed, whereas is this a normal process we started months ago?
Well, I started trying to twist Mr. Goldfield's arm to do this months and months ago, maybe in February, so I don't feel rushed. I've been before this council 4 times now.
Since when?
No, sir, I don't believe that this has been rushed.
Last question was, somebody asked, when was it rezoned?
The in-city, I don't know the zoning history of the in-city piece. All I did from a homework perspective was confirm that it was zoned. So I don't know the timing of that in-city zoning, but it hasn't been in the last year. It's been on the books for quite some time.
Well, the ETJ piece has been it's out. The SF2, SF3, I want to say 15 years ago, 20 years ago, somewhere there.
Let's see another question that I have on my list that was brought up. Whether this public improvement district is approved or not approved has nothing to do with Park Ridge being paved. That's already been decided upon. And so Park Ridge is being paved whether this council votes yes or no to this district.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
And that's 3 lanes on each side dumping into Turbyville Road.
That is my understanding. My understanding is it's just 3 lanes.
Just 3 lanes, okay, I stand corrected, but that's already been approved and has nothing to do with this district.
That is correct. My understanding, and I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, Commissioner Coleman is here and may be able to address it directly or press from him. But from the work that I've done, my understanding is that there's a collaboration between Corinth and Denton County, and Park Ridge Road will be improved regardless of what happens with this road.
Okay, thank you.
Could we just get a good explanation? I think we're using the term ETJ. Everyone may not be familiar with that. I want to make sure that people understand what an ETJ is, how it relates to us, why we can't annex voluntarily out there. So I just want the audience to be able to understand.